Hello there, and welcome to the I Never Knew podcast, also known as Inc. This show dives into the life experiences of people who have been through it all and have come through the other side stronger, better, and triumphant. Each story is raw, authentic, and, at times, heartbreaking. One thing joins it all together: the fact that the stories can help the listener learn and grow. Hosted by life coach Maureen, she sits down each episode with a new guest who will empower the listener to set out on their self-discovery journey and start to heal. Now you'll be joined by Maureen and her special guest. Please enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to I Never Knew, But My Dog Did podcast. I am Maureen Scanlon, or Life Coach Maureen, your hostess. So excited to have everyone here. Thank you again for listening, for joining, and for interacting. Keep those 5-star reviews coming. I appreciate it. So as always, I have a fabulous guest today, and I can already tell just his personality came through when he reached out, and I'm so excited. I feel like we're definitely going to be in sync, but I think I'm going to learn a lot from him that I'm going to need help with, and I think listeners, you're going to appreciate this, especially when you're in business and you're promoting yourself. It's important. So without a further ado, I have Mr. Hersh Rephun today, and this is really cool. When you listen to his bio, it tells you really about who he is. So with dual chops in comedy and advertising, Hersh Rephun has enjoyed an eclectic career spanning 2 decades as a message therapist and as a stand-up comedian, playing gigs across the country. Empathy and accessibility are the hallmarks of his work. He hosts the popular Truth Taste Funny podcast. Very clever. I love it. Seeking survival tips for a chaotic world, and is following it up with Yes Brand. Just say yes, right? Helping founders and CEOs tackle branding challenges with humor and humanity. Hello, my friend Hersh. How are you?
Hello, Maureen. Thank you. Wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, you're right. You have a lot of great energy in the intro. We kicked it off right already.
I always say I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I go well with cookies. So, I'm a lot to take. I think my guests need a little bit of a downer after they get off this podcast. I think they're like, "Ooh, that was a lot. I need to just like chill out and listen to some music or something," because she's a energy elevator, that's for sure.
Right.
So, my friend, first of all, he's very handsome. I know y'all are going to hear this on audio, but if you do see the video, he's a very handsome man. And I want to get started. This podcast is obviously, the title is I Never Knew, But My Dog Did. My brand is all about the dogs and how they really changed my life and started my enlightenment journey to learning how to be my own best friend and love myself unconditionally the way my dogs love me unconditionally. So what I really love is that your work and everything that you do is based on, as he says, it's about selling the truth and being authentic. But we always start off on this podcast with your knee story. What's a knee story? It's sort of a moment in your life where you were brought to your knees and you realized, you know what? Something's got to change, and I've got to find a purpose that makes me happy, fulfilled, and helps others. Tell us what your knee story was.
There probably is more than one knee story, or it's a long, I think, for like it is for a lot of people, it's a process through which we resist that moment. We put that moment off so that things will happen and we don't seem to get it. I think the real knee moment was during the pandemic when, we're fearing for our lives. We don't really know what's going to happen to any of us. And my go-to to keep my sanity was to start an Instagram channel called 3 Times Daily Comedy, where I would film myself and my kids and just, my dog and, and make these little videos in characters, voices, whatever. Now, it seemed like it was strictly comedy, but there was a moment where I was I don't scooter, but my younger daughters do. And I was taking one of their scooters and doing some silly German character. And I started talking about the scooter, the brand, the wheels, the whole thing. And I got contacted by the brand. I obviously tagged them in the Instagram thing, but I didn't have much of an audience. But I got contacted by the scooter brand. And at that moment, I think a light bulb went off where I was like, these are not two separate lives that I live. Comedy and brand messaging and branding and copywriting and all that stuff. It's not even just funny copywriting or comedy advertising, because it isn't always like that. I said, but there's some marriage between the brand and the comedy. And Yes Brand had already been in my head. I just hadn't focused on doing a podcast or changing my business model. I had 2 lives. I had my life as a comedian and doing creative pursuits, and I had my life as a publicist and copywriter. And really, while they each had fulfilling aspects, they were not unified. And I think at that moment, I finally recognized that I loved both things, where I thought, well, if the PR business isn't going well, I'll go do some stand-up, or I'll write a stand-up show, or I'll write something, or I'll call my buddy in the comedy world, or whatever it was. I would go from one to the other. And I realized, well, that's leaving an awful lot to chance. That's like not very focused for someone who actually has an organized brain, albeit a very, like you can relate to, albeit a very energized brain and a very creative and imaginative brain. But I felt like, I should just focus on that horizon and just kind of bring these two armies of thought together and see what happens.
I love that. And it's so funny that in life, things happen. So for instance, when the pandemic was here, so many people realized this job is not for me. This relationship is not for me. This health style is not for me. And I think the challenge is the integration. And I love that you said, okay, I've got these things. Now, how do I integrate? And I think anyone who's an entrepreneur and has an entrepreneurial mind, we do have several things going on and we don't think they can all come together. And I love that you sort of figured that out. You're like, oh, wait. And then someone's interested. I caught someone's interest. So that's really cool, where you kind of just changed it. You flipped it, and the word, the buzzword of the century is we pivoted. We pivoted.
Well, buzzwords, Maureen, is like, that's part of when you talk about selling the truth. We talked about, before we began, a little bit about selling the truth and what does it mean. And the fact is, all these buzzwords that fly around are just distractions. And the sad part is, like, we jump on them because they were like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. Like authenticity. People say authenticity like it's something that you create, which is kind of funny because it's supposed to just be what you are. Just be who you are. Just be what's happening. Be in the moment. That's authentic. It's not complicated. And the same is true with selling the truth. You don't have to you don't have to make up a truth to sell.
Right. Because we want to sound so professional, as opposed to me. I just want to break out in song and go, I've got to be me. that
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So we have to like kind of go along with the flow and the trending of the words, the buzzwords. But I love that you said that. We were talking before we started. This is a challenge, and listeners, if any of you are thinking about starting a business or starting a brand, whatever you want to do, even if it's just a Instagram personality, influencer, whatever it is, I was telling Hersh that I hate selling. I don't sell myself. I'm the build it and they will come girl. So what can you do to help us? How do you help us? Because you have major success with, he has influenced change makers, market leaders, agencies, institutions, production companies, and even Oscar winning filmmakers. So little old life coach Maureen over here needs your assistance and desperately. So help me out.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for the kind words, but the truth is you have this incredible sense of self. So the funny thing is that after you express that, you always say, and I say always based on, our exchanges, but several times you would say, but I'm not good at marketing it, or I'm not good at, I'm not good. Well, the mindset that you aren't good at marketing it is part of the problem, that you feel somehow there's a deficiency in how you present it. But all it means is that there's just another level that you haven't taken it to yet. And but let's start with who you are and where that. Oh, hold on one second. I'm sorry. Is it okay if I interrupt? Are you able to edit?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Because my son is supposed to be flying here, and he called, and I just want to see what, he has Asperger's, and it would be like one of those things where I can't, if I ignore him. So just let me pause this for 1 second. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So what should we pick up where you were talking about
yes.
Okay.
You say that my mindset is that I'm not good at selling myself. And I think my mindset is just that I don't like having to sell myself.
Okay. Well, this is a good point, because I relate to it, and I know, I really don't know that I know anybody who doesn't feel that way. There are people who are very comfortable, though, walking into a room and saying, "This is me," whether it's how they dress or what they say. And then there are other people who just want to be themselves, but they don't want to have to explain it or say what it is. And when they're like you and I, where we're listening to our own drummer, and we have enough sense to know that we're different in how we're presenting ourselves, but we don't know what to do to like compensate. And so all of a sudden, the natural thing of being you, when you start to think about packaging it, now it starts to maybe feel inauthentic, because does this mean I'm going to have to be bubbly and energetic all the time and do that, and I'm going to have to do this, and I'm going to have to do that? Well, the bad news is, the bad news is not bad news. I always say there's good news and then the other news, and,
Yes.
the less good news. But the other news is that it really serves you and serves us to come up with some ground rules for the persona. Now, that doesn't mean that we're any different in real life, let's say, whatever we want to call it, than the person that we are on camera or in our promotion of what we do. It's just we're being a little more focused on the result that we want. What do we? I was trying to come up with a poster for my wall, because I sometimes tend to complicate things, and that's just a creative thing. You come up with alternatives, with problems. Like I'm the person who, if I'm trying to figure out a way to keep my light stand, let's say, from falling over, I'll get the microphone cord and I'll wrap it around the bottom of the light stand, and then I'll carry it over here and I'll put it on the other light stand and I'll wrap that around. Then I'll need another headphone because I've used this. So now I got to dig out another. Oh, okay. Now I have another headphone and I'm going to use that one when really maybe if I just spread the legs of the light stand a little bit, it might not fall over. Maybe if I just,
oh, good gracious. Now I'm married to an engineer, and that just was exactly something. Every time we go to do something, he's got to do the 50 steps and it has to be just overkill. And I'm the simplistic one, which is why I think marketing is difficult for me, because I just want to talk to people and I want people just to come and be in my presence, and we're going to connect, and I have no worries that we're going to connect. I have a gift to connect with you and find out what we have in common. And so I'll tell you what doesn't sit well with me. And this is really popular today, is these networking events.
Right.
Oh, okay. That was did you hear how guttural that was of the discomfort I had there?
Yes.
I've been to these networking events and it is not me. It makes me literally feel like dry heaving right now. I don't want to sit around and hear an elevator pitch from the window guy. It's just not who I am. And I don't want to go sit in a room where we're all trying to get each other to buy stuff and share our people's phone numbers and friends and all that. I luckily have been fortunate enough that Build It and They Will Come has worked for me. For instance, you found me, we found each other, and I would never have met you otherwise. And I know going forward, I will always know Hersh, and we're going to be buddies and we're going to connect him. And that's just the way it is. So does that help you understand why marketing is difficult for me?
Yeah. Yeah. I relate to it as well. And I think that when I talk about the synthesis of my two selves, part of it was that I did tell myself all through my childhood and into my adulthood that I was a comedian or a creative person or writer, actor, comedian, one of those, that person, that kind of hyphenate. And therefore I couldn't do other things. Like my very first memory, you talk about a knee memory, was I was starting my own business, and one of my best friends was an IT guy, and he came over to my new office and was wiring my computer setup. And he's on his knees on the floor under my desk, and I'm sitting here like this, and he looks up at me and he goes, you could do this. I'm not doing this because I'm this is who I am. I'm helping you out, but you could ask me what I'm doing. And then the next time you set up an office, which you almost definitely will eventually do that, you can do it yourself. That's the way things work. And I was like, no, I'm a writer, comedian. I'm not, I can't do it. And
right? The identity of I'm in this box over here. Don't get in this box over here.
I don't want to. And a lot of artists are like that. Look, just point me in the right direction. Get me on the stage. And then there are people like The Rock or Kevin Hart or whoever it might be. And they have, they have this facility with business, with ideas, and they want to start their own company and they want to do this and run that. And they're details people. It takes all kinds. But I think, Maureen, where you could use a little help is that, and I'm getting this too finally. I used to think it was partners, that I needed a partner in the company or in the endeavor to do those things that I wouldn't do. Now I realize what I need is people who have all those other qualities contributing to my vision. Yeah. And then I can decide whether I shouldn't be doing it. A lot of the marketing also, this is going to be in the book, in my book. I'm writing a book, and this is going to be in my book. Third-party validation is a huge, huge thing. And it's exactly what you were talking about. if you walk into a room and someone says, that's Maureen Scanlon, and she just, she's this and that, and you have to, talk to her, and you will feel differently about talking to them, right? It won't feel like, oh, it's this thing again, everybody turn to your left, and right, we hate that stuff, and I get it, but that third party validation works both ways, right? It's like, I call it the teeing up process. You're standing at a bar, you're talking to people. This person comes over and says to the person you're talking to, "Oh my God, Maureen is amazing," and it's sincere and it's genuine. It's just, it takes a load of pressure off, and then you're happy to do the other thing. Oh well, this person is that, and that person's this. That's what it really comes down to. But it doesn't mean that we're bad at marketing ourselves. It means that we want some third-party validation in place that will lay the groundwork for us, so that when we come into a room, our reputation has preceded us, not because we crave attention, which is what I think a lot of people think, but because we are so much more comfortable when we don't have to be the one tooting our own horn. And it's the credibility, is built in, is baked in to the relationships we have. So the people who we like, we don't go to, "Hey, you got to help me out, put in a good word." We could say that sometimes, but usually, like I spent, a couple of decades pretty much just working on off referrals, because I didn't advertise. I worked in the advertising industry, but I didn't advertise what I did. I never bought an ad for myself as a copywriter, as a publicist, or whatever. But it was just people saying, "You should work with Hersh. You might like Hersh," and that. But there is a point at which, Maureen, I think that you can go beyond that and say, "Okay, I want to focus on not advertising, but I want to focus on two things: third party validation, and see if I've set all the mechanisms up for that, testimonials, quotes, things like that. And then the other thing is, do I need to work on my voice, on my brand voice, so that I get comfortable talking to people, letting them know that I actually am selling something. I have an image, and I have a program, I have a course, or I have a product that is not just my personality, that isn't just me. It's part of it." Yeah. And then train your audience that, there are facets to what you do, so that you are as comfortable and they are as comfortable with the stuff that is business oriented as they are with the stuff that's just personal and bubbly and fun and laid back and your style. But it's all done in your style. So, the way you interact with people is still part of who you are. The way you present, a product is the same as, who you are. It's just the language of, for lack of a better word, sales. I hate the word sales. I hate it. I hate it. But at the same time, I had someone say to me yesterday, it was a totally great point, and she's a spiritual healer. And she was saying, I realized from watching a lot of other people that I could be charging for this service. And it just feels so strange to me to do it. But I think I have to. And I'm like, of course you have to.
Yeah.
But the language
right
of it is not coming easily to you.
There's what changed my mindset really was, if I didn't believe in me 100%, how's anybody else? And how are they going to know about me? They're not in my head, and they're not going to run across me in the grocery store. So they have to see me. I have to be visible, and they need to see the credentialing, and they need to see what I'm doing and what I'm offering. I'm in my 6th year of the business, the 1st year of the podcast. And of course, I wrote my first book, 2019, my second one in 2021. And the first year I said yes to everything. And this is why I love your brand. And I'm going to ask you how you got there. The first year I said yes to everything. The second year I said yes to most things. The third year I said yes to different things. And then from the fourth year on, I said yes to me. And what I mean by that is I said yes to only those things that felt good for me. And I would go with my intuition and my gut of knowing whether that was something that was going to push me forward or if it was something that made me nervous. I like things that make me nervous because I know it's something I haven't done before. I created a sizzle reel and I did this Rock the Stage program this year where we all get on and we do a TED Talk, TED-like talk. That was really fun this year. So the sizzle reel was cool. And I think everyone should do a sizzle reel because that's sort of, you kind of get out of marketing yourself with a sizzle reel because you've got a sizzle reel and it entails your testimonies, everything about you. It shows your speaking abilities. It shows mine's about my books and my coaching and all that. So I think a sizzle reel is a great idea. So long-winded, sorry. But yes, brand, what is behind the meaning of your logo and your brand? Yes, brand.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that stuff. I made some notes about what you said that I didn't want to forget. They're just kind of the cryptic way that I I don't know when that will turn into something useful for you, but I probably will. I wrote it down. But anyway, with Yes Brand, what that comes from is the yes and rule of improv. There's a improv comedy. I used to do that as well as stand up. And when your scene partner throws an idea at you, a suggestion at you, like, everybody needs to be wearing 2 sets of headphones in order to hear the other person they're talking to, I can't say no, I don't want to wear the headphones. The skit would be over and the audience would be booing. And so I have to say yes. And then we have to put our computers on the top of our head, and all of that. And then it builds and builds and builds. And I realize that's what I do with clients anyway. That's what I've always done. A client calls me up and they say, Hersh, I'm doing this thing. I just bought a chain of flip-flop shops and we're new owners and I need to relate to all the franchisees. This is just an example of one that happened. And it's like, I need a voice for this endeavor because it's different from, maybe, and again, someone with a very big personality, but keen, on the sense that, I have to choose my words. I have to choose my statements. I need your help with that. And I take that person's personality, what's happened, what's transpired, who the previous owner, what's going on, how many franchisees, where are they, all those things. And I put that into a voice, plan, basically a messaging plan. And that's just how I do it. But I couldn't build it on nothing. He couldn't say, I need a messaging plan for a takeover of a franchise. Right. It doesn't matter if someone who had a chain of pizza stores was doing it, it wouldn't be the same thing. Every person is different. I love the fact that every individual is an individual, I like that we're including each other more and we're being more inclusive, but I think we also have to remember every single person, regardless of gender, color, religion, background, culture, all is an individual unlike any other person in the world. So, that's what we have to get so smart that we're celebrating is like the actual ultimate individuality. And, so that's a little afield from Yes Brand, but that was it, was the idea that it's like comedy. It's like building on a premise, but you as the client are the premise and I'm helping you build the narrative.
Yes. And see what I did? See what I did there?
Yes, you did.
I think it's crucial too. And when I do any business coaching with people, I'm really big on finding your why. I don't care that you want to be a millionaire. I don't care that, you want to invent the newest things in sliced bread. If you don't have a why, you're not going to succeed. And I think for me, that's always been key is I know why I'm doing it and I know what my message is.
Right.
And that is, have you found that that's the biggest thing? Because I know a lot of business minded people lose the why and they get they get, devil's in the details and they get so lost up in the minutia that why are you doing it and who are you helping? That is what I think it makes effective entrepreneurs and business.
Well, this is my why. I'm going to share this with you because I think I'm very clear on it. This is my why.
The letter Y.
Yeah, that comes from watching a lot of prop comics.
Love it.
That's a thing you could do at a mastermind or something, or at a speaking engagement where you do the.
Of course, TED Talk has their slideshows. You got to have your big why, right? I love that.
Yeah. But to ask your question again, because I was writing my why while you were which was rude of me. I shouldn't have. No,
that's okay. I just feel like one of the keys that people lose inside of the goal is why are you doing it? And if you if you hold on to the foundation of why you're doing something and who you're doing it for, I feel like you can eliminate so many of that detail, like you being the complicated overthinker. I think we can, sort of drill it back. And now that really works well for me. So I think, what do you think about that? Just sort of go back to your why when you get lost in the, oh, I need to hire assistants and I need to hire a PR person and I need to hire a social media manager and I need to be on Instagram and all this. Should we just pull it back to why are you doing it? Who are you reaching?
Yeah, that goes back to the selling the truth thing, which is that core truth where it's not so much about that phrase, my truth, my personal truth. There is credibility in that, but it's really, the truth is very adjacent to very why adjacent, right? So the truth of who I am, it's almost like this is just a thought, but it's almost like going back to the who am I is a good exercise, because the why is like, I would say, the why for this is that I want my kids to grow up in an environment like X and Y. And that's, that's what that's what I'm motivated by. I want this for my children. Let's just say as an example, then, but that may seem in the moment like, well, okay, that's obviously why. That's why I need to hire this person, and I got to do this, and I'm still left with a spinning wheel of 15 things I have to do. Whereas if I really take a step back and I go, okay, who am I? Who am I? Because right now I'm acting like a maniac, where I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what has to happen first. I have 5 different to-do lists that are all different priorities. I'm not getting any of them done. I experienced this stuff, and it's like, okay, wait a minute. Who am I? Who am I? And then I go back to the very, very basic idea of who I am. And then I'm like, okay, well, so if I'm that person, what's my priority? What's my priority? Not necessarily even my why, my big why, because that maybe I don't have to question that. It's what's my priority as this person? And you start to maybe go a little easier on yourself. Well, I'm a person who gets overwhelmed if there's a change in plans. Okay, so that maybe, setting me off. I'm a person who really wants to do this for this other person, but I know that that's going to like take away from my entire agenda for who am I? Am I the person who makes the big sacrifice at this moment for this, or am I the person that really needs to stay on track and get these things done? And it all fits in with the meditation and the breathing and all these other things that I had never done. Stopping to think is probably something I don't know that I really did until a few years ago. Like literally stopping to think about who I am. And I think in some ways the pandemic was like contributed to that.
Yeah.
It wasn't my choice. I would have preferred a really long vacation in Hawaii if that was where I had time to think, but that was not going to happen. So,
Oh yeah. I've said to everyone, unfortunately people lost their lives and jobs were lost and homes were lost. But I always kind of have this Pollyanna view of why things happen. And to me, COVID just literally made us go inside our houses and inside ourselves and say, is this where I want to be in life? And it was great for a life coach because so many people came to these profound epiphany moments where it's like, I want something different. And I'm just the gal to help you do that. So what are you doing now? We're going to end this with all of your information. Are you still doing comedy?
I am not currently doing stand-up. I am so kind of focused on the book and the Yes brand, not just the podcast, but really this consulting model, and working with personal brands and corporate brands. I have a kind of a niche that I'm really into now, which is seven-figure companies, brands that want to crack that 8-figure goal, but they're not able to communicate they have what I call plateau fever, where they kind of like, they got to a certain point, they're doing well, but they're not really, growing, changing the game. They're not really propelling. And I think sometimes it's like they need a shake up. They need a new language. They need a new brand language, a new brand voice. And I like being focused on a goal and then helping them with that. So, but that's so much fun. Like that stuff, there's a lot of laughs involved in the podcast. There's a lot of laughs involved in the conversations that I have with people. So I think setting the stage, so to speak, for them to know that whatever we do is going to be fun, right? That that already is going to make the experience different. It's not going to be, this is not what I've done in the past. I've worked with brands and you go in the office and you sit down with them and you want to work with that brand and you want to be yourself, marketing yourself, but you realize, their culture's they're more rigid. They are more reserved. They're going to think I'm a little bit crazy. They're going to contort yourself. You get the gig. Now you're doing the gig. And then you're like, well, this isn't fun.
Right.
This really isn't fun. I don't know what and the lucrative part of it is like, well, I could at least have seen if I could have made the same money having fun. I would like to have at least had so
I think that's a big thing in business too, is we sell our souls just to get a client. I don't do that. When people reach out, I'll say, yeah, let's have a call to see if we're both a good fit for each other. Right. Because you may think I'm a good fit for you, but I have to be sure you're a good fit for me too, because right. I have to have that connection with you. And my saying, if it ain't fun, I'm not doing it, and is in everything in life. And why do we think that we don't have to have a good match? Because we choose our friends, we choose our partners, we should choose the personalities that we work with in business as well. So,
sure.
Where do we find you? When is your book coming out? And what is your podcast? So all of our listeners can come and find you. And then I have a fun little segment that I'm going to ask you. Your comedic genius is going to come out before we end. So,
okay.
So where do we find you?
Yeah, so they can find me. Obviously I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram and all that stuff, just looking for my name. There's no other Hersh Rephun, so they don't have to worry about that. And they can go to HershRephun.com, and it's HershRephun.com, and they'll see the whole kind of spectrum of what I do there. But also the two podcasts are called Truth Tastes Funny, which is TruthTastesFunny.com, and Yes Brand Method, which is YesBrandMethod.com, which is the Yes Brand podcast. And new seasons of those, the third season of Truth Tastes Funny and the second season of Yes Brand are starting April 6th. And for
Nice.
Yes Brand, it's going to be a joint venture with a young capital finance company called Numeris Capital, which is instrumental in helping entrepreneurs grow their businesses and facilitate the growth that, let's say if they're coaches and they want to have their students be able to, finance their education in this field, everybody works together to make this a really easy and positive experience. And again, like that selling the truth thing is like, I don't do, this is a little side concept, but I don't do like sponsors on my podcast where you have like ads and things. Just doesn't make sense to me. But when I can partner with a young brand that has a great product and a great message and a great heart, then it's like you just said, you're like, oh, I want to work with these people. These are the people I want to work with. So I'm super psyched about that relationship. And it also goes back to that thing where it's like, I didn't need a partner in the sense of I need another person with an office in my office. I need to partner with people with like-minded entrepreneurs, business people, so that we can raise each other up, so that we can really lift each other up. And that covers the podcasts and the websites. What was there? Was there now this comedy thing, or did I leave out one of those?
When is your book coming out?
Oh, my book. Okay, so my book, which is tentatively titled "Selling the Truth," which I think it probably, I like the subhead that I've chosen, which is "Selling the Truth: Musings of a So-Called Thought Leader." And I get into why I think it's I'm a so-called thought leader, but anyway, that should be out in September. So
love it. Okay.
On Leadership Books. Yeah.
Nice. September of 23. Well, what a joy it was to meet you. I love your personality. I completely feel like we are kindred spirits in our energy and what we want to do. I know from here forward, we're definitely going to stay connected. So what I do is I always end the podcast with a fun little segment called Take My Money. And so I want to know, and usually I ask, what is the weirdest thing that you've ever bought or the weirdest thing you've ever seen for sale? And I'll let you think, because I know it puts people on the spot. The thing today I was going to talk about for my weird thing is the weirdest thing I bought for my dog, because I just found it yesterday, and it is a matching set. I have a Chihuahua. She's a 15-pound BBW, and she has it's a little knit hat and a little knit scarf, and then it's got leg warmers, because I am a Gen Xer and we did the leg warmers in the 80s. So that's the weirdest thing I've ever bought for my dog. What's the weirdest thing you've ever bought or seen for sale?
It's funny because, hold on, Toby. Toby.
Puppies. We got puppies. Let me see.
He does what he wants. So I don't. Hold on one second.
Darn right he does. That's what's beautiful about the pups, is they do what they want.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get it. They don't come when you want them to come to you, but I think the weirdest thing that my daughters bought for him was a Halloween costume that was a referee. Oh, there you are. Hello, come here.
Let me see the baby.
Yeah, come here.
I want to see the baby. He's off screen. Hold on, my listeners. We'll wait till Toby's ready. Let's see.
Okay.
Sweet baby. Okay, what breed? Because it looks like a little terrier.
He's a Yorkie poo, and he's full grown. He's 7 pounds.
My God.
7 pounds, and he's mostly Yorkie. His dad's a Yorkie and his mom's a Yorkie. He looks like his dad.
Oh, sweet baby. Great. Hi, baby Toby. Oh, you're so cute.
They like it when you talk to them in baby talk, even though they're adults.
They do. They do.
Anyway, he's not technically an adult. He's probably a young man.
That's correct, like a teenager.
Right? Like
so
a teenager.
what? Your daughters bought a referee
So they bought
costume?
they bought a referee costume, and on the back it said referee, but it was like what do you call it? Glow in the it reflective material. And so it's roughery. Roughery. That was a strange thing that they bought for him. But when you think about what was the strangest thing you have ever seen for sale or bought, it's funny because the strangest thing I ever saw for sale was this enormous chair, and it was the reason I say it, I don't know how it could have been for sale is because it was about 20 feet tall, and I don't know how many feet, the appropriate number of feet wide, and it was wood and it had a huge cushion on it. And I get why it would be funny to have a chair like that and sit in it or something, but the property you would have to have in order, and then how would it be moved? And so, and it was reasonable. It was about $28,000. So given the size of it, it was prohibitive at the time. And I would think probably any time it should be prohibitive to spend money on a chair like that.
I feel like I'm gonna see that on an episode of How the Lottery Ruined My Life, because people just spend money on stupid, silly things.
That's right. But you know what I bought instead?
What?
Toby. Got this dog instead. No, I'm kidding.
We
would have gotten him anyway.
All day, every day, I would take a dog over anything. That's right. Everyone knows me. Well, thank you so much for all of your information, for your fun, your energy, and all of it. Just all of it. I really enjoyed meeting you today, and thank you for the hour of your life you'll never get back that you gave to me. And there are no refunds, just so you know. But I really enjoyed you, and we're going to be buddies here forward. I'm going to be checking in with you, and maybe you'll be stalking my site and making sure I'm branding properly. So
I will take it upon myself. I really thank you, Maureen. This was so fun, and I'm so glad we've connected.
Me too. It's like you never know what it's going to be like when you're just doing the emails. Is this a good time? Yes, this is a good time. I can't make it. Are you okay? And then you don't realize when you get on, it's just going to be like, let's just have fun. So thank you so much, listeners. Thank you for being here. Keep those 5-star reviews coming. I appreciate you so much. Share this podcast with everyone you know, because everyone needs laughter and love and support, and to know that they are not alone in any of their struggles in life. All the categories and topics that we cover, from suicide to addiction to abuse to marketing to we covered earlier. I did a cannabis coach, which is super cool. So you can't be pot and branding in one day. I'm just saying that's pretty cool. So thank you all. Love you all for being here. Don't forget to go and purchase my books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, and Outskirts Press. My dog is more enlightened than I am, and my dog is my relationship coach are available. And if you're looking for coaching, confidence building, business coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship and dating coaching, you can find me at lifecoachmaureen.com. Thank you all. Take care of you. Take care of each other. Most of all, take care of those furry babies. Until next week, love you all. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the I Never Knew podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring and educational, please be sure to follow, subscribe, and spread the word. The more people that join the Inc. community, the more it can develop and influence others as we work together for a healthier and brighter future. Until next time.